Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest, and today we are going to put together my layout for this week's Story Kit Crush. I am still working my way through the Laugh Story Kit, and although that may not be apparent from the type of photo I have chosen, that is where these embellishments came from. And I specifically went in with the idea of finding something I could use these cork pieces for. I love cork, I love the look, I love the texture and dimension that it gives, but I sometimes find it hard to work them into my layouts as an afterthought. So I went in with a specific intention of creating a layout for these. And originally I just was looking for something more of like a nature outdoor type picture, and I kind of had an idea in my mind of what I might do with these. But when I came across this picture that was from a trip to Washington, D.C. in 2019, I loved this picture and the story behind it. And I thought, well, this might have enough of the browns and yellows in the fall leaves that I can get away with tying in this color of the cork. So that's what I'm going to do. And these are, some of them have like sunburst patterns, and some have words that would go more along the lines with the Laugh Story Kit, like funny story, full of joy. So I'm actually going to use some of these turned upside down so you don't see the print that's on them. So that's how I'm going to get away with using them on this layout. It is a 9x12 layout. I have printed my photo off at a borderless 8.5 by 11 so I could get as much photo as I could onto this 9x12 piece of basil cardstock. This one is Avalanche. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's like the grass cloth version. It's not just the regular textured basil. So that is going to be my background. It's going to also have an accompanying page with this 6x8 with 4 3x4s, and I have that here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward, and I am going to get this one put together. I don't think it's going to take long because most of the work has already been done by getting my photos and my journaling printed off. All right, so I'm going to put you on fast forward. Let's get this one done. Okay, I'm going to use my Scotch ATG gun to go ahead and adhere my photo down to the cardstock. Often when I have just a larger surface to adhere down, I will grab the ATG, and it does also give a really strong hold. And then I'm going to work with my cork pieces, and as I mentioned, I'm going to turn the ones that have words on them upside down so they just look plain. And originally I was just going to add adhesive to the back and then trim the top, but I decided it would be probably better to get the adhesive at the very edge of the cork up at the top. So I went ahead and decided how big I wanted each piece to be, and that smaller one I just cut right in half, so I just used 1/2 on each side. And then I had the one there in the middle, I think it may have been about half as well. And I'm using score tape, and to me, score tape and cork are kind of tough. Whether I use red line tape or score tape, I'm always worried that I'm going to rip the cork. In fact, I have ripped some in the past. You know, it's just not the most durable material, and it's kind of thin, so it's a little difficult to adhere down. Or to work with while you're adhering it down. So I cut out all of that of me fighting with the release paper, the backing on the score tape for those 3 pieces. And now I'm deciding how big I want those pieces with the sunburst type print on them. And I want them to hang down a little lower than the piece in the middle. So I'm trimming that down, and I'm going to use that just kind of as a guide for the second one to get them to be the same size. And I'm going to use foam squares to fill in the area where there's the gap between the cork at the top. If not, if there's, you know, like an area where the ends of the cork are hanging down, it's going to probably tear off just because it's not going to have any support under it. And I ran out of the larger squares here, so I had to get the smaller ones. Um, and then here I am, I'm also cutting some in half. And then once I kind of lay this up there and try it out, I realized that the piece of corks where the two pieces of cork overlap, I still had a bit of a dip, and so I'm coming in with a thinner foam square to kind of make up that height difference. So I played around a good bit with that, and it takes a while to get all these off as well, so I am cutting that out. And this picture, as I mentioned, is from us going to Washington, D.C. in November of 2019. We were there over Veterans Day, and we took this tour of the cathedral, and it was awesome. It was an awesome tour. I would recommend it to anyone. And this was my favorite part, where we got to go out on like what amounted to the roof. It was like a little walkway that put us out there where we could look at the flying buttresses and talk about them with the tour guide. And it was just, I mean, the views were amazing. We could see for forever. And, you know, you just got a whole new perspective for how tall the cathedral actually is. And it was just a very fun experience to me. Now, I'm taking this little smaller sunburst piece and putting it over there on one of my 3x4s. And again, I'm going to have it lay off the edge as well because I like that look. And then I'm taking one of the other ones that had words on it, turning it upside down to put it onto this picture of my hand. And then the other 3x4 up there in the top left hand corner, I took the leftover from one of the Starburst big ones and adhered that one there. So I've got 3 on that side. And then date stamping. This was from an old Feed Your Craft, maybe Recorded, might have been the name of the kit. And so I put the date that we were actually there, and then I wrote in Washington National Cathedral for the location. And then I went and pulled out some different white thickers. I just grabbed a little handful from my stash, and I ended up going with this one from Pink Fresh Studio, and it was from the collection Just a Little Lovely. And I do reach and get my thickers alignment guide. I often use this when I use thickers just because I like my letters to be as straight as possible. They don't always end up perfect, even with this one. Using this tool, but they're much better than if I just tried on my own. So I'm going to do rooftop views. And when I get to the views, I'm just going to use my tweezers and kind of line it up. I didn't end up getting it as centered as I would have liked. I guess the W took up a little more space than I was thinking, so it ran a little long. So here I am deciding exactly where I want to put it. I'm just going to kind of put it where there's a little more sky area over there and less cathedral. So rooftop views will be my title. And you'll see I did have to wipe off quite a bit of cork dust the whole way through the video. It does make a bit of a mess. Once I get the title on, that finishes up for today, and I'll be back on to talk to you in just a second. Okay, that is where we are calling this one done. I really like how it came together, and I like how the cork pieces did sort of pull up those colors from down here in the leaves, like I was hoping it would, and then having these other pieces to put over onto the page with the 3x4s, I think it just ties it all together really well. I like that they make a bold statement, the cork pieces, and that these popped up here on the foam squares in the middle give it even more dimension. And I think by creating this one as a 9x12, that maybe I've made an inadvertent decision to do the whole DC travel album as a 9x12. I had not planned on doing any particular size with that yet, and I know 9x12 is a little large for most travel albums, But after doing our trip to the Vietnam Memorial as a 2-page 9x12, and now with this one, I think maybe that's just the way I'm going to go. I originally thought maybe the Vietnam Memorial pages would just go into a regular family story album, and then I would cover it in some other way in the travel album itself. But we did a lot of things. There's so much to see and do in DC, and I have a lot of stories to tell about the times that we were there. So I think I'm going for it. I think I'm just gonna run with it and do a 9x12. That'll give me plenty of room for all of the pictures I have, and I do have quite a bit. All right, so that is gonna wrap it up. I don't know if I mentioned or not in the voiceover, but this is my hand on the roof. We were looking out, and then if you turned back around, we were facing these like slate panels, I would call them, and there were lots of engravings and carvings of names and initials and stuff in there. So that's what that one was. And then this is just looking straight up that roof. And then this one is a little gargoyle. There were lots to pick from, but this is one that sticks right off from where you go back in the door to go back into the cathedral itself. So I really just like how the whole thing came together. I do have a typo, so I'm going to have to fix that. That's going to drive me crazy. But other than that, it's good. So thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it more than you know. There will be close-ups at the end, as well as over on Instagram with the hashtag storykitcrush. And I don't think any of these products are still available, so I don't think I'll have anything linked below. But if you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would certainly appreciate that as well. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.